Are you worried about paying off your IRS debt? Don't panic, there's a way out with an IRS payment plan. And today, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about them. In this video, you'll learn the different types of IRS payment plans available, how to qualify, and which option might work best for your situation. I've helped countless clients set up IRS payment plans that ease their financial burden, and I'm here to show you how it works. Who am I and why should you listen to me? I'm Brad Paladini, and I've been resolving tax issues for over 12 years. I've helped clients set up payment plans to resolve debts as high as $130 million, and I hope you don't owe quite that much. The first type of payment plan is the short-term payment plan, which I personally don't even consider a payment plan, but the IRS does list it on their website. So how does this work? For a short-term payment plan, the IRS will give you 180 days to fully pay the balance due. 180 days isn't much time, so what would be a situation where you would want to use this option? Well, we've used it in the past for clients who plan on fully paying their tax debt, but maybe need to liquidate an asset or they're waiting on a loan to come in. There's some issue where they just need an additional period of time to get the money together. So this would give them 180 days where the IRS will not levy their bank account, garnish their wages, or file a tax lien to get the money together to pay them in full. Now, keep in mind, if you choose this option, interest and penalties do continue to accrue. So it's not like interest isn't accruing for the 180-day period. That tally is continuing to run. It's just giving you time where you don't have to worry about the IRS taking the money from you, so you can put it together and pay them in full. The other option available is a longer term payment plan. Maybe you don't have the ability to borrow money or liquidate an asset and really pay them the entire amount within 180 days. Most people can't do that. So there are longer term options available. This can work in several different ways. If you owe $50,000 or less, you could set up a streamlined installment agreement. So what that does is it takes the balance and you would agree to pay that off in 72 months. Now, when I say owe $50,000 or less, that's on the assessed balance. So what is the assessed balance? Basically, when you file your tax return, let's say you file a little bit late, there is a failure to file penalty. There's also interest that may be accrued and a failure to pay penalty. So the IRS looks at the total amount that you would owe as of that date, and that's your assessed balance. On the other hand, we have something called the accrued balance. So that would be all of the additional accruals that kind of stack on. So the interest that continues to accrue, the penalties that continue to accrue, that's the accrued balance. So we've had clients come to us and they maybe owe $60,000 and they're like, oh, I don't qualify for the streamlined installment agreement, but maybe the accrued balance is under $50,000, or maybe it's something like $52,000. So we can have them make a one-time payment of $2,000, get it to that 50,000, magic number, and then do a streamlined agreement over 72 months. Now, the benefit to doing a streamlined installment agreement is that if you meet the terms, the IRS will not file a tax lien, which is really helpful if you maybe plan on buying a piece of property or selling a piece of property. A tax lien can really screw you up. So if you can avoid one, which not everyone can, it's best to do so. If 72 months still isn't long enough to pay off the debt, you could potentially get on a longer term payment plan. And there's a couple of different ways to do this. One is the negotiated agreement, where you would have to provide financial information to the IRS to show that, hey, I can't pay this off in 72 months. I'm not making enough money to pay all my bills and pay you. And they would give you a little additional time to pay it off, maybe 84 months or 90 months or something like that. In some cases, depending on how much you owe, they won't even require financial information. They'll just give you the 84 months to pay it off. It really depends on how much you owe. Currently, it's around $250,000, although the IRS is kind of changing their mind every time you call them. So if you owe $250,000 or less, you may be able to get on a payment plan without providing financials, assuming that you can pay it off within that 84-month period. The last type of payment plan that I want to talk to you guys about is the partial pay installment agreement. So how a partial pay installment agreement works is you have to provide financial information and you have to prove to the IRS that I can't pay you a whole lot right now, right? Let's say you owe $100,000 to the IRS, but you're only making, $40 or $50,000 a year, and you can only afford to pay them $100 a month. Now, the IRS only has 10 years to collect this debt. After 10 years, the debt expires. And there are certain things that can give them additional time, but to keep it simple, we'll just talk about a 10-year straight period. So if you're paying $100 a month over 120 months, which is 10 years, you're not going to repay the debt in full, right, before it expires. So the partial pay installment agreement basically means that, hey, we'll take the $100 a month and, that's the most you can afford. And at the end of the 10-year period, we will waive the remaining balance. So this can be a great option for some taxpayers. Generally, if you qualify for a partial pay installment agreement, we'd also look at doing an offer in compromise, which is a way to settle the debt, because you don't want this going on for 10 years, right? If you can just offer them some sort of money up front and have them waive the balance right now, that's a better option than dealing with this for 10 years. The other thing to know about a partial pay installment agreement is that it's not necessarily forever. So typically, if you are on a partial pay installment agreement, every 2 to 3 years, the IRS will come back to you and see if your financial circumstances have changed. See if you're making more money. If you set up a plan for $100 a month, but now 3 years later, you're making 2 or 3 times as much money, they're going to want more money from you. Partial pay installment agreements can be good, but they're not necessarily a permanent solution. If your income's pretty steady and you don't anticipate making a lot of money in the future, or maybe you just don't have another option, then a partial pay installment agreement would be the right solution for you. Before you apply for any type of installment agreement, there are a few things that you're going to want to do. One is you're going to want to make sure that you are current on filing all of your tax returns. If you're not current on filing your tax returns, generally the last 6 years of returns, the IRS won't grant the installment agreement because you're not in compliance. They want to make sure all of the returns are in and any outstanding balances are included with the payment plan. The other thing you want to keep in mind is that you are current for this year on your tax obligations. The IRS will set you up on a payment plan if you owe taxes from last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, but they want to make sure that you're not going to have this issue in the future. If you're a W-2 employee, you're going to want to adjust your withholdings to make sure that you are having enough taken out from your paycheck each period so you don't owe a balance when you go and file. If you're self-employed, you're going to want to make some estimated tax payments so you don't have to pay the whole thing all at once when you go to file. If you set up a payment plan today and the IRS agrees to that $100 a month, and in 6 months you file a tax return with a liability and you don't pay that liability, the IRS will terminate the installment agreement that you're on. So you really want to make sure that you are current for this tax season before you set up the installment agreement. Otherwise, you're going to have to redo this again in 6 months. And the more often you try to get on an installment agreement, the more difficult the IRS makes it for you. One of the things that we hear most commonly at our office is, hey, what if I can't afford to make any payments at all? Like, I can't even do a partial pay installment agreement. I can't afford $100 a month. Well, the other couple of options that you may have is an offer in compromise where you settle with them for less than what's owed, or you could do something that's called currently non-collectible status, which basically means, hey, IRS, I'm making 30 grand a year. I got to pay my rent. I got to pay for food. I have a car payment. There's literally nothing left over at the end of the day for you. And so what the IRS will do is essentially put you on an installment agreement of $0 a month. So you're not required to make any payments. Again, whether you're on currently non-collectible or a partial pay or any type of installment agreement, interest and penalties will continue. So that balance is going to continue to grow. But if you're really in a tight situation now, getting on currently non-collectible status might be a good avenue to pursue while you get your finances in order. And again, the 10-year statute of limitations is still running, even though you're on currently non-collectible. So if you can squeak out all 10 years without making a single payment, that's as good as a settlement. But that's also something we would look at if you qualified for currently non-collectible. You'd want to take a look at an offer in compromise and see if you qualified for that. If you're struggling with back taxes and need help setting up the right payment plan, click on the link below to book a free consultation. My team and I will guide you through the process. And if you're interested in learning more about how to deal with back taxes, we have videos coming out on people who have not filed in a few years, other tips for installment agreements. And if you have a suggestion for a video, leave it in the comments and I will do a video on it for you guys. Hope you found this helpful.